I believe there is alignment in your life's assignment. And so in order for you to focus on fulfilling your life's assignment, you need to talk yourself into the right direction. You need to make sure that you are focusing on the things that are necessary, focusing on the things that you can control, focusing on the things that are within your wheelhouse, focusing on your environment and creating an environment that allows you to excel and be your best self. What up, team? Welcome back to Practice the Podcast, where we fuse research and culture to help you develop the mindset, habits, and skills you need in order to live out your purpose with confidence. I'm your host, Coach Rees, and it's time to get better. Let's grow.
We talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
Practices are meant to be competitive. They're meant to be competitive. If your practices aren't more competitive than the games themselves, you're doing the wrong thing.
Yo, we are live with episode 19. I'm so excited to be here, y'all, because we're at 19. Like, I remember episode 1, and it just feels really good to be able to say this is episode 19. So anyways, we about to get into it. You know I'm excited. You know I'm here for it. And this is one of all the topics I talk about are my favorite, but this is something that I've talked about for a really long time. And I think in order for us to learn how to win the year, you have to be able to do this thing. We talking about focus, y'all. Focus. We talking about focus. So the quote for this episode is by yours truly, Coach Rees. The topic is, or the quote is, focus, forgetting outside circumstances in uncontrollable situations. The quote is, forgetting outside circumstances in uncontrollable situations. This is a acronym or quote that I came up with a long time ago because I realized that in order for us to execute at a high level, I have to be able to focus. And if I'm not focused, I can't execute on the things that I need to the degree that I want to. And so we're going to dive into this once we get into the meat of practice today. But that's what I want you to hold on to. Focus stands for forgetting outside circumstances and uncontrollable situations. So our song for this episode is none other than Focus by her. Focus on me, baby. Like, that's what she's saying. Like, she's saying just focus on me. Like, that's what I need you to do. Like, don't be focusing nowhere else. Just focus on me. And that's what I'm telling you to do, is focus on you. Focus on the things that you need and want and desire to execute, because when you increase your focus, you increase your execution. Boom, bar, drop it, episode over. When you increase your focus, you increase your execution, period. And that's what we came here to do. We came here to learn, how do I execute at a high level? How do I become a high performer? How do I execute and perform high and live out my purpose with confidence? You do it with focus. So what's the research behind this? Everything that's got to do with the mind, right? Everything that's got to do with the mind. That's the research behind this. Is all things that we've ever talked about. This is all things mind game. Okay. So let's get into story time. So when I was 15 years old, I had a basketball game, and I remember just like my coach was, I don't know, it was kind of weird. The game was kind of funky, and my attitude started to drift kind of negative. And I remember the exact place and time where I was at. And I went outside. We're at White River High School. And I was outside and I was like, man, my coach had to talk to me about something. And my attitude was kind of negative. And I just was upset. And I felt myself drifting towards kind of being a way that was in misalignment with who I am as a person. And in that moment, I was like, you know what? I need to change my negative mindset if I want to have a positive life. At 15, I promise, I got the tattoo to prove it. It's right here. So I got a tattoo later on that summer, probably about a month later, and it says, change negative mindset, have positive life. So when I tell y'all I've always just been this way, like, this is me. But the reason why this has to do with focus is because I realized what I focused on was going to impact my mindset. And my mindset was going to impact how my life went, how my life was, how I was able to execute. And so from that moment, I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on having a positive mindset so that way I can have a positive life. So change negative mindset, have positive life. That's the story. And I realized from that moment forward, like, once I started to really focus and hone in and pour in on that area of my life, I started to bear fruit in the direction that I wanted to. I started to bear fruit that was actually beneficial to me, that was actually beneficial to my mindset, regardless of all of the opposition that started to come my way. And so now let's break down focus. Again, I told you it's an acronym that I use that stands for forgetting outside circumstances in uncontrollable situations. So the forgetting is the biggest thing. Forgetting isn't always not applicable to every situation, but it's forgetting for the moment. So this is something, there's a trick I used to have, or a thing I used to have my players do when they came to practice. And we'd have a focus box, and on the note card, there'd be note cards in the box, and I'd have them write down something that is on your mind as they came to practice. But I needed them to be present in the moment at practice. So in order for you to be present in the moment at practice, I need you to not be worried about all the other things. So sometimes it's not forget forever, it's just forget for right now. So I'd have them write down on the note card, math test tomorrow, trouble with a relationship, whatever the case may be, and they can put it in the box. They put in the focus box, and it allows them to walk into practice, to be present at practice. And then what happened was, sometimes they would either forget it was there, and they go back and pick it up, and you can pick up the worry on your way out, but I need you to be present. So forgetting is allowing you to be present in the moment, allowing you to be present with what's going on. The outside circumstances, if it doesn't have anything to do with right now, if it is going to impede my ability to execute on whatever I have to execute on this moment, I have to forget about it. Right? And again, it's not forget forever, it's just forget for right now, because it doesn't apply to what's going on. It's not going to help me execute on this specific thing, on whatever the task at hand is. So I have to forget that outside circumstance. The you, uncontrollable. Whew. Uncontrollable is the biggest thing, y'all. I have to make sure I am not focusing on uncontrollable situations. And this is the biggest one regardless, because if I can't control it, why am I focusing on it? Too often we focus on situations that we can't control, on other things that people say, other people's energy, anything that got to do with anybody else. It's outside of my control. And so early on in around 19, I started to realize, you know what? Like, the uncontrollable piece, I cannot create. I no longer started creating goals and expectations around things that I couldn't control. Literally, like I have a drill, and hit me up in the comments or something if you'd like for me to send you this drill. I'll put it up on the website, and you can download the document that allows you to do it. But I created a focus box. Inside the box is everything that I can control. Outside the box is everything that I can't control. So I learned early on as an entrepreneur, as an athlete, that I can't control people that work with me, people that want to hire me, people that want to be around me. I can't control it. So I had to realize, if I was going to have a healthy mindset that stayed the way that I want it to be, that stayed fixated on being a blessing to other people, stayed fixated on being positive, I need to make sure that I focused on the right things. I focused on everything that had to do with me and nothing that had to do with anybody else. So the uncontrollable piece is the biggest piece that gives us peace. Pew. Uncontrollable piece is the piece that gives us peace. If I feel like my soul is disrupted, I have to check, am I trying to control something that I don't have any control over? Am I mad about a result of something that I ultimately had no control over in the first place? Right? For athletes, this looks like trying to be voted first team all league or something like that. And ultimately, it's up to other people. You can control your effort, but it's up to other people who vote you in, right? Like as an athlete also, I'm going to work super duper hard. I want to be a starter. Ultimately, it's up to your coach. You know, for somebody who's working, you may say, oh man, I'm up for this promotion. I'm going to work really, really hard. That ultimately it's up to somebody else. I'm working really, really hard to do these podcasts, but I can't control how many views they get. I don't control the algorithm. I don't control other people that's doing it. As a confidence coach, I may want to work with so many people one-on-one and do so many workshops and keynotes and trainings, and I want all these people to work with me, but I ultimately cannot control it. I don't write the checks for other organizations. I don't do all that. If it was up to me, but I can't focus on the things I don't control. And so if you want to increase your peace, increase your focus on the things that you have control on and let go of the uncontrollables. Okay? The situations is just tied to uncontrollable situations. There's so many things that happen in life that's like, you know what? And again, it varies. There's a spectrum, but a lot of times you will have more peace when you focus on situations that you can control. And when a situation occurs, it's less about the situation and often more about how you respond to the situation. Now, obviously that varies, but a lot of times in life, it's not about the situation itself. It's about how do you decide, how will you decide to respond to the situation that happens to you? The next step will be based off of your response, okay? So here's the thing. A lot of times I think it's important for us to focus on the right thing, okay? Find something to focus on. When you are focused on one thing and you're focused on the right thing and you're able to put all your energies towards that thing, this is going to increase your ability to execute because you're giving all your energies toward this one specific thing, right? You're giving all your energies towards that thing that deserve and is worthy of all your energy. This leads me to the thought process of multitasking. A lot of times we try to force our brain to do too many things at one time. And we have a lot of times tricked ourselves into thinking that this is a good thing, but this actually is not a good thing. Multitasking decreases our efficiency. Focusing on one thing increases your efficiency. So even though you probably like, oh no, I can multitask, I can do da-da-da-da-da-da. You can't, y'all, because our brain literally is like, can only be really good at doing one thing at a time. So what does that boil down to? That boils down to a time management, a time mindfulness thing. And a lot of times, and I talked about this a couple episodes ago, as I talked about capacity. I talked about decision fatigue and perfectionism and doing too much, right? And burnout. Oftentimes we burn out because we're trying to multitask way too much. And our brain is like, stop doing that. But I found that when I narrow in my focus and I do one thing, I focus on one task at a time, it's easier for me to get it done right, only have to do it once, not have to come back to it. I didn't make any mistakes as I wasn't trying to do 4 other things at a time. And it is so easy to try to do this and that. We're all guilty of it. I know we are. But when you can train your brain to be more focused on one thing, you will find that your execution increases, that you're a high performer, that your energy lasts longer because you've trained your brain to focus in on one thing. So I want to talk about 3 things that I do that help me manage my time better, help me have better time mindfulness and execute at a higher level. All right, y'all. So here are some areas that I think are really beneficial if you are trying to increase your focus, increase your execution, and really hone in on being a high performer and ultimately, again, living out your purpose with confidence. I think time mindfulness is one of the most important skills that you can develop. Okay, it's not just managing your time, but it's being mindful about how you go about living out your time. Okay, 3 things. 1, the power of 20. This is something that I think is really life-changing because, again, if you can train your brain into just knowing, if I can focus on this one task for 20 minutes, whether it's putting your phone on D&D, honing in, getting this done, just 20 minutes, you can get so much stuff done in 20 minutes. It blows my mind when I'm able to just say, you know what? And often it doesn't even take me 20 minutes to do a certain task. Sometimes it just takes me 10 because I'm putting all my focus, all my energy into this one thing and everything else for that moment does not matter. Okay. The second thing is intimate 10. Intimate 10 is something that I started to implement into my life recently. It's just taking 10-minute breaks to do something specific. It may be a mini date with my soulmate. It may be just checking in. It may be a phone call, with my dad. It may be a 10-minute social media break to find inspiration or to laugh, or maybe just be 10 minutes to myself, just 10 minutes. And what I notice is also in doing this, I'm like, I don't have 10 minutes to, then I'm like, wow, I don't have 10 minutes to engage with other people. I don't have 10 minutes to spend with somebody else or spend pouring into myself. Or I don't have 10 minutes to make myself something to eat. Like we really, when you sit back and say, I don't have 10 minutes, you're like, okay, something must be off here if I'm saying I don't have just 10 minutes. So what these systems and thought processes and like kind of tricks do to your mind is it makes you really sit back and think about like, am I really that busy? Am I really like that? Like there's really not 10 minutes for me to pour into myself, for me to have an intimate moment with me or with somebody else, or to give my body what it needs. right? Like, are we that high strung? Are we at that much of capacity where often taking a step back for 10 minutes is going to give you that much more energy and fuel to keep doing whatever it is that you're doing? Okay, so you got the power 20, you got the intimate 10. The next thing you have is flow 490. Getting in a state of flow is one of my, it's the science shows that it's the most addictive state because it's the only time that all 6 of the chemical endorphins in your mind are active when you are in a state of flow. And flow came from research within basketball, actually, where athletes would they'd be hooping and you would just see them out there and it looked like it was almost effortless. And they'll say, man, I don't know, I was in a flow. And what science shows is that you can create this flow-like state within yourself outside of, you don't have to be an athlete to do it. And so you can create flow moments, and you only want to be in flow for about 60 to 90 minutes. And then you want to take an intimate 10. You want to take a break for about 5 to 10 minutes and then get back into flow. Okay. And so last episode, I talked about getting to know the things that you need that help your environment, help your internal and personal and physical environment, that help you be able to execute at a high level. So you also need to know, what do I need in order to get into flow? Is it certain music? Is it food? Do I need to have D&D on? Do I need to let certain people know? Like, what do you need to increase your focus into right here at this moment so that way you can get things done? And the coolest thing about flow is your brain is operating at the highest level. And when you look up after 90 minutes, you're like, shoot, that felt like 50 hours, or it felt like 3 hours, or I felt like I kind of kept going. I felt like I was just producing, I was creating, I was just doing, it was really working, like, because all the all the energies, all the biological chemicals are just popping off, right? And that's what you want to get done. And again, it's just 60 to 90 minutes. So if you can train your brain to focus for 20 minutes, for 10 minutes, or for 60 to 90 minutes, you will find that you increase your execution, which increases your ability to be a high performer and ultimately increases your ability to live out your purpose with confidence, y'all. All right, y'all, here are the drills and skills. Number 1, focus. Train yourself to forget outside circumstances and uncontrollable situations. This is something that I still have to do to this day, even though I've been talking about this for over a decade. You got to train your brain to forget outside circumstances and uncontrollable situations. What you can do to help do this is take quick timeouts, a 30-second timeout, a 1-minute timeout. Take a second to breathe, 5 to 7 breaths to just say, is this situation something I can control? Is this an outside circumstance? Okay, cool. Then how do I now stay focused on whatever it is that I'm trying to do? All right. Number 2, watch your thoughts. Let's say you're trying to do something, you're trying to execute, and your mind is all over the place. Take a break, take a quick time out, step away. Or if you feel like, man, my thoughts are everywhere, so maybe I need to read something to help get in alignment. Maybe I need to listen to something to help get in alignment. Maybe I need to write something down, because those are things that are going to influence your thoughts in the direction that you want to go. And the last one is, I want you to talk yourself into the right direction. Okay, focus is about being in alignment. And I believe the milliwatt. Anyways, I believe there is alignment in your life's assignment. And so in order for you to focus on fulfilling your life's assignment, you need to talk yourself into the right direction. You need to make sure that you are focusing on the things that are necessary, focusing on the things that you can control, focusing on the things that are within your wheelhouse, focusing on your environment and creating an environment that allows you to excel and be your best self. Okay? If you're not doing this and you're not talking to yourself in the right direction and you're allowing thoughts to come in from all over the place, it ain't gonna work, y'all. Okay? So I hope that you felt like you came to practice and you got better today, that I was able to help you increase your focus. Tap in with me, go to the website and make sure you download the focus box so that way you can grow in your focus. This is Practice the Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Rees. Remember, I love you, I believe in you, and I need you to remember that you are worthy of being the model that somebody needs you to be. Until next time, peace.